Hello guys, and welcome to this month's episode of Daily Dose of Reading Book Club Review. This month we were reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. As you can see, I made lots of lovely notes all the way through to share with you guys what I loved and maybe what I didn't like, we shall see. And yeah, so I'm just going to have a chat, including what you guys fed back to me on Instagram, what you thought of the book. And basically, I suppose the reason that we chose this book, I put up a few options on my stories and we all voted for Atomic Habits the most. And I suppose the reason that I had it as an option was because I've read similar books like The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, and I found it to be a life-changing book. It completely changed my morning routine. And basically made me a morning person. So I strongly believe in the power of books being able to change your life and the way that you live it and the way that the way that you see the world, and just gives you a different perspective and way of looking at things. And the reason I wanted to try Atomic Habits was because I had heard that it gives actual practical tips for implementing new habits, new good habits, and getting rid of old and bad habits. So it really piqued my interest, and I'd heard a lot of good things, and so had you guys. So just gonna have a chat about what I thought about the book as a whole, what we kind of learned from it. I'm gonna share your responses as well, and yeah, see what we learned from it, and we will talk about what next month's book is going to be. So stay tuned. So first and foremost, I loved how this book was split up in two. So it begins with the fundamentals of habit formation and why we form habits and what an atomic habit is. And then it goes into the 4 laws of behavior change, which are make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So I suppose when you understand those, then you can start to figure out how you're going to form your new habit, and then the inversion of those of like how to break a bad habit. So make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. So when I asked you guys on Instagram what kind of habits you'd like to make or break, a lot of the ones that came back were about social media and screen time, that we wanted to reduce our screen time and kind of break our habit of just aimlessly checking social media. Whilst social media has a brilliant role to play in terms of connecting us, especially at the moment during COVID, it's incredible. I suppose just we want to, and the common response to my stories was that a lot of people wanted to like only go on social media with a purpose. So like, I want to go on, respond to my messages, check up on my friends' posts and limit it to 20 minutes or whatever, and only do that after you've gotten your work done, not just like anytime you feel some kind of void inside, so that was one of my ones for sure that I wanted to break. So a habit that I wanted to form was to get my work done in the evening straight after dinner, rather than having dinner, like relaxing, like chatting, texting, whatever it is that ends up meaning that my work doesn't get done until about 8:30, then I don't go to bed on time, then I don't get up on time. And it's just a vicious cycle. So I want to break that cycle by getting my work done early and not wasting that time between dinner and starting my work for the evening. So yeah, that was something that I wanted to start. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through kind of the framework that James Clear uses throughout the book. Overall, I would say that the book was very easy to follow and very easy to pick up and put down. But with that said, it wasn't like a page turner. Like you wouldn't say, oh my god, can't put this book down, like can't stop reading it. Well, I that's how I felt anyway. But I do think that that's kind of the nature of the book, because it's kind of practical tips. It's not necessarily a story that you follow, or whilst James Clear shares his story at the start of the book, I didn't think that it was like a page turner that I couldn't put down. But also I have read books that are similar about habits and routine, like The Miracle Morning that I mentioned. So I didn't find most of the content, I didn't find absolutely groundbreaking. Like there were definitely some new concepts in there, and he does give extremely good examples and really good tips, and I did actually really like the book overall. But I just found that I wasn't like absolutely thinking about it all the time, which I felt with other books, and like I didn't like get to bed and like couldn't wait to read it. I didn't feel that with this one, but that might just be me, and I'd love to know if you were the same. I just didn't feel it in that way. I don't have a connection to the book in that kind of way, and that might be because like I said, I have such a strong connection to other books like The Miracle Morning, which already kind of taught me some of these principles. So that might be why as well. So let me know what you thought. So as well as the framework, I also loved the way that he gave examples of how these kind of principles have been implemented in the past, and so therefore they should be able to work for you as well. So I loved the one about the family who basically set out to create world-class chess champions in their children by just like normalizing the environment being all about chess in their house. So the children knew nothing different other than to like always be playing chess with their family, to like have chess players on the wall, and just be like really used to being in that environment. That's what the activity that was rewarded, and it just shows the power of surrounding yourself with people who already practice the habits that you want to have. Because if all of your friends get up at 5 a.m, you know, like chances are you're going to start getting up at 5 a.m. as well, because you're the only one who doesn't, and like they're talking about all the benefits of it, they get so much done, and you know, it's normal to get up at 5 a.m. If all your friends on the other hand sleep in, you know, like you can't get up and go for a walk with them, you don't have any kind of accountability because they're all in bed, and it feels like, why should I get up any earlier? You know, so I think the environment. And equally with smoking, you know, if your partner smokes, it's often easier for both partners to quit smoking at the same time rather than one, for obvious reasons. So I think the environment that you're in, and that point that he made, and using those examples to show that the environment that you're in, including the place and the people, play a huge role in whether you are making good habits or forming bad ones. I also love the overall principle of getting 1% better every day, and I think I want to put that on my wall somewhere here, because he really highlights the power of compounding as a whole principle. So if you get 1% better every day at something for a year, 365 days, by the end of the year you will have gotten 37 times better at that thing, which is just incredible. And then he also goes on to say how it can work in the opposite way. So if how bad habits compound, so you know, whilst you might not work out today, you normally work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if you miss this Monday it's fine, you know, but pick it up tomorrow or the next day. If you continuously miss your workouts, they compound over a year to mean that you don't reach your fitness goals, you know. So it's really interesting to think about the power of compounding in terms of habits. Like normally we hear about it in terms of finances and building our wealth and all that kind of stuff, but to hear it in terms of habits is really interesting and powerful. Another really interesting concept in the book, which I got as kind of an overall takeaway from it, was the fact that we place too much emphasis on single events and overnight success, and like we kind of glorify that in our society, when really what that does is it kind of makes our goals seem unattainable. So if we see like a YouTube star going viral overnight, we completely are discounting all of the weeks when they uploaded 2 videos a week, nobody cared about them, nobody saw them, you know, they got 100 views or something, and we just say that they were an overnight success. But if they hadn't put in that work every week consistently and built their creative talent and explored different ideas, they wouldn't have kind of hit the jackpot with that idea for a video that goes viral. So you have to kind of, obviously there are spontaneous chance you know, successes and viral things, they're not always good, I guess, but the vast majority of the time an overnight success is not really an overnight success. You know, we don't see the long nights and days that people put into their work unrecognized. We only see, you know, when they kind of break through. And the key term in this book was the plateau of latent potential. So I love the example he gives from the San Antonio Spurs, where he says they have this hanging in their locker room, a quote from a social reformer, Jacob Rees, and it says, "When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stone cutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow it will split in two, and I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before." So we give credit to that 101st blow when really it was all the work that he did before that, that nobody paid any attention to, that was, you know, the reason that he was successful, you know. I also love the concept that he explores, and these are all kind of in the fundamentals before he really gets into it, about like fixing the inputs and the outputs will solve themselves. So like if two people have the same goal, it's not the goal that differentiates them, obviously, because they have the same goal, and if one of them succeeds and one of them doesn't, what was the difference between those two people? And it had to be the processes and the systems that they had in place to achieve that goal. You know, it's not enough just to have a goal. Yeah, and he says that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So that is really interesting. And the other key takeaway that I got from the book was the identity-based habits. So rather than saying, you know, oh, I'm trying to quit smoking, you begin to say, I'm not a smoker. So if you're not a smoker, you start to think about things that people who aren't a smoker do or don't do. So if you're not a smoker, you know, you don't carry a lighter, so therefore you can't smoke, you know, or you don't buy cigarettes, you don't hang out in the smoking area when you go out with your friends because you're not a smoker, you know. So when you take on that identity, like James Clear said that he never saw himself as a writer, but he didn't start out as a writer, he became one through his habits. So when we want to develop good habits, we have to kind of think about the person that we're trying to become. So if you want to have a successful business, what would someone with a successful business do? Would they lie until 12 p.m. or would they get up at 6 a.m, start onto their to-do list, like all that kind of thing. So it's about thinking about the type of person that you want to be and then casting votes in favour of that identity. And also in terms of identity-based habits, it's something I've personally experienced, so I know that it is true. When I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, I started to think of myself as a morning person, kind of from the get-go, the way the book kind of trains you to think, rather than like, oh, I'm gonna get up early tomorrow, or oh, I'm gonna try and get up earlier. I was like, okay, I'm trying to become a morning person, so what do I need to do? I need to leave out my workout gear the night before, I need to leave out my books so that I can read, and I need to leave out my journal so that I can journal. And a morning person, you know, they drink water as soon as they get up, so I have a bottle of water beside my bed, and the more I did that and the more I repeated it and felt the benefits of it, it was satisfying. It had like all of the laws of behaviour change that James Clear goes through. I realised that I suddenly was a morning person, and I didn't question getting up early. I didn't have to think about whether or not I was going to get up early. I just did it because it's the type of person that I am, so there's no question, you know. So it doesn't even feel like a habit anymore, it just feels like my personality, the type of person that I am, even though I was never a morning person before. So I strongly believe in identity based outcomes and habit formation. I also loved whenever he had like a chart like this. So this one is the one where he goes through the problem phase and the solution phase in terms of cue, craving, response and reward. And so this one here resonated with me a lot. I put a star beside it. So like the cue is that your phone buzzes with a new text message. The craving is that you want to learn the contents of the message. The response is that you grab your phone and read the text. And the reward is that you satisfy your craving to read the message. Grabbing your phone becomes associated with your phone buzzing. So whenever your phone buzzes, you grab your phone. You know, that's the kind of cue, craving, response, reward, the whole habit. And like when you understand that, you understand where you can break the chain. So if your phone isn't even in the room, you can't hear it vibrating, so the whole cycle doesn't start. You just check it on your lunch break and, you know, you see 4 new messages, and that's fine. You know, you didn't have to check it 4 different times. You just waited until your lunch break to check them all because you didn't even hear it vibrate. You know, so if you can really understand the cue, you can remove the cue, and you can employ all the different techniques that he goes through, like making it invisible to break a bad habit, you know, and making it unattractive. So, you know, if you associate grabbing your phone with having to do 10 burpees anytime you grab it for no reason, you know, something like that, then that makes it unattractive. Make it difficult, you could like put your phone into one of those things that you have to lock and like put a code in or something like that, or you give it to your friend or your colleague and tell them to put it in their drawer, so that if you want to check your phone, you have to go over, ask them, and admit that you're breaking your habit or making your bad habit continue, you know, and make it unsatisfying. So you know, if you really understand the time that you're losing every time you scroll on social media aimlessly for 20 minutes, like 4 times a day, you know, you've lost an hour and 20 minutes of your life. And what could you have done with that time? You know, you could have worked out, you could have spend time with your family, with your loved ones. You know, like when you start to think about the opportunity cost of what you're doing, it makes it really unattractive and unsatisfying. I really liked the chapter on environment. It's probably my favourite chapter because social norms and the influence that can have on our habits is huge. Like, just because the majority of people do something doesn't mean it's sane, you know. Like, for example, the way we all buy so much online and buy things like they're disposable, like they're going out of fashion, you know. Just because so many people do it doesn't mean it's a sane thing to do, you know. And we imitate 3 groups in particular: the close, the many, and the powerful. So imitating the close, this one resonates with me so much. He says that we soak up the qualities and practices of those around us, and that peer pressure is bad only if you're surrounded by bad influences. So, like, I suppose I always kind of had to think about who I was surrounding myself with, and if the friendships that I had were serving me and them, you know, and if we had like things in common. And I found that over the years, like, you kind of end up, well, I found that you end up narrowing down your friend group to, you know, just a handful of people that really resonate with you and that are really on the same path as you. And if you don't, you know, you're going to be stuck in a loop with the people who aren't on the same trajectory as you. And I always remember that thing about, like, you know, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or something like that, you know, that kind of thing. So you kind of have to be very choosy with who you spend your time with and who you're texting and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's like the power of, you know, joining a book club, for example. Like, you identify as a reader, the people that you're speaking to in the group are readers. And I like having accountability, being part of a group. You know, it has huge pull and huge success rates in terms of forming new habits, breaking bad ones. And then there's also the crowd. We'd rather be wrong with the crowd than be right by ourselves, and he goes through the experiment that proves that. And it makes me think of crabs in a bucket. So you know, that experiment where you put crabs in a bucket and one of them tries to escape, the rest of the crabs will pull that crab down even though they're like almost out of the bucket. And that's kind of true of society as well. If you start to do things by yourself and think independently and, you know, go for your goals, they'll be like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing that for? That's kind of weird. Why are you posting that? Or like, why are you trying to, you know, start your own business? That's kind of a weird business to start. Or like, you know, that kind of thing. And they'll drag you down. And that's why you need to be so protective of, you know, what you're taking in and what you're accepting as normal, and yeah, that you're following the right people on social media and stuff, and seeing you need to like kind of see and ingrain in yourself the habits that you want to have and the person that you want to become. You need to see that in the environment around you, whether that's online or the people you hang out with. It needs to be normalized in order for you to feel like it's cool to kind of maintain it in a way, because we really are influenced by what's around us. So there's a few key practical tips which I'm taking away with me, and that is the implementation intention. So I'm going to write down, I will do X at this time in this location. I'm also going to use the habit stacking. So like after this habit, so after I get my work done in the evening, I will stretch before going to bed. You know, like that kind of thing. One habit leads to the next habit. I really liked that. Also the 2-minute rule. So downscaling your habits until they can be done in 2 minutes or less. So obviously there's not a lot you can achieve in 2 minutes, but starting the habit with 2 minutes. So I'm just going to read for 2 minutes. You'll find yourself wanting to read more, you know, even though you force yourself to stop after 2 minutes. You form the habit of reading every morning, and you'll find that you build it up until you're reading, you know, half an hour a day and really learning. And, you know, that's just one example as well. So my final takeaway from the book is the habit tracker. So I am going to put on my wall a big calendar and X off the days when I do achieve a habit. So for example, getting up at 6 a.m, I'm going to cross it off like that and make it visible, completely visible to me, that I am either on track or off track with my habit formation. And I think that was a really powerful tip and tool. So I suppose my 3 key takeaways are habit tracking, like I just said there, habit stacking. So I'm going to make sure that, you know, I one habit leads to another positive habit and compounds, because we love the power of compounding. And identity based habits, becoming the type of person who does something. You want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to become the type of person. So what would a successful entrepreneur do? So those are my kind of takeaways. And in terms of what you guys had to say, oh my gosh, you guys were saying that you really liked the chapter on environment and managing habit cues. Twins. And someone else said they loved the chapter on fundamentals, the one that just got them into the book. Someone else has said that they loved the chapter where James Clear tells his story and how he became interested in habits, and that they actually are interested in exploring habits further in future themselves. Very interesting. In terms of quotes, someone has said they love the quote, "Be the designer of your world and not merely the consumer of it." Yes, that is very, very powerful. Someone else has said that they love the bit about if nothing changes, nothing is going to change. So if you don't change something, how do you expect anything around you to change? How do you expect to, you know, I did love that one as well. Someone else said, I really liked making habits obvious and accessible. Sometimes we have these grand versions like, oh, I'm going to walk 20k every day, but this book really highlighted that baby steps are key, and that's what we were saying about the 1% improvements. In terms of suggestions for next month's book, we have all voted on Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Sorry. So really excited to read this. So it kind of helps you to find your purpose, overcome negativity, stop overthinking, use your fear. It just sounds incredible. And I heard him speak on Dr. Rangan Chatterjee's podcast, and it just completely made me want to read this book. So looking forward to doing this for the following month, from March into April. I will include the dates below and my Instagram handle if you want to follow along on there. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm glad to hear you enjoyed the book so much. So yeah, thanks for watching, and make sure to check me out over on Instagram at dailydoseofginger21 over here. So I talk about pharmacy, health, well-being, chat to you guys about kind of current events that are going on in terms of health, of which there are a lot lately. And yeah, so talk to you over there. Bye.